everybody.
Hi, squad.
Hey, welcome. So, this is episode 44. Woo woo!
44. 44. Wow, we made it far.
Yeah, this is episode 44. We all have stuff. So, thanks for being with us. We were just talking a lot right before this episode, just reviewing some of the things that we've heard over the last 2 weeks from friends, clients, family, whatever. And it seems like we kind of have a common denominator. So, we want to talk about that a little bit today.
Yes.
So we want to introduce the idea of some ownership, accountability in your life and your relationships, and kind of talk about the good, bad, and the ugly of that, because I know that's kind of heavy for some people to be okay with.
Right.
So, what are your thoughts about why it's so hard for people to take ownership of their role in a relationship or their challenges in their life and stuff like that? Why do you think that's hard?
I think there's always a plethora of answers. But I would say and I think this is really hard because I struggle with this too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really hard. It's the stereotypical thing that I'm laughing because me and one of my clients will laugh because I asked her one day, like, what do you think you need? And she goes, if my partner would just do what the hell I need my partner to do, everything would be happy in the world. And I was like, valid. If people would just do what we wanted,
Mm-hmm.
things would feel a lot easier. And that's what we struggle with, right? Because we're like, I just want to control this other person because it would make sense to me. It would feel good for me. And if they would just do what I need them to do,
Mm-hmm.
like, why does that not make sense to them? And why do they not do what I want them to do? And we get so stuck on that
Yeah.
that we forget to be like, well, I don't have control of this person. So how do I just focus on me
Mm-hmm.
and say, what do I need, or what, like you said, accountability can I take of my role in the situation? And I think that is very hard because especially when we love or care about people, right? If we talk about relationships that are more intimate to us,
Mm-hmm.
it hurts when that person isn't meeting what we want or what we need or understanding us.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't click to us. So we feel so defeated or like a lost cause when we can't get it to work like we want it to. It's like, this could all be easy, but it's not. So why isn't it easy? And that's the hard part, to be like, well, then I have to do something.
Right.
But we wish that we didn't have to do it. The other person could just do it.
Right. Yeah, and I think that that's what makes a relationship hard, right? You have to have expectations, you have to have the conversation before things get really intense and really deep and connected. Like, what are you capable of? What's my expectation? What's my threshold? And when somebody's not meeting that, especially if you've communicated those things, it's like, well, do you not care? Did you not hear me? Are you not prioritizing my needs? But, it's come up so frequently lately with a lot of conversations about things with my clients too, just about the weight of the world and the things that they're going through feeling so unfair, and not necessarily even in a relationship standpoint, but just like all these bad things and these horrible things keep happening to me and around me. And like, they will ask that question, which therapists hate to answer, like, is it me? And you're like, okay, I don't really want to say it's you, but like, let's explore that and let's unpack that.
Let's explore that. We love that.
Like, what do you think? And sometimes the truth is that we get ourselves in patterns of relationships, of behaviors, of coping mechanisms that it's all us. It's all
Right.
the choices
Sure.
that we make, and sometimes like your job as a provider is to be like, well, has this happened before? Like, what were the circumstances surrounding this? Can you see how maybe choices you made led you to be in this position another time? And obviously that's such a gentle way of saying it, but I've asked a handful of different clients over the last week, this is my question: what is your role in your own distress? Because you can't always just come to the table saying, hey, I had a fight with my partner and they suck and I did everything right. I had a fallout with my boss and it's all him and his expectations. It wasn't anything I did. We have family tension and I just don't know what to do anymore. It's everybody else. And sometimes you have to teach them and teach people, and I struggle with this sometimes too. We all do. To kind of take a step back and be like, yeah, but like, what did you do or what did you not do? Because
Right.
not doing something is just as powerful sometimes as doing
Mhm.
something, you know?
Right.
Not setting a boundary, not saying something, not advocating for yourself or somebody else. That's all you having a hand in the way that things go.
Right. And I do think it's important to note, like when we say, what is your role in your own suffering? We're not saying you deserve this.
Right.
Right. So I think that's where I
Yeah.
always watch that language because we have to ask, like, there is something I'm contributing. What am I doing? Like you said, what am I not doing? But what it's not is this person's treating me like shit. So I must be doing something to deserve or that's wrong. It's more like this person's treating me this way. Why am I allowing it?
Hmm.
Why am I okay with it?
Right.
Why am I not speaking up about it? Why am I staying? Like, what is that with me? And that's the language I'm always like, I want it to sound more like that. And I just wanted to say that because a lot
Yeah.
of times when people are, that's when we get in that self blame that, oh, well, I must not be doing something. That's why I'm getting treated like shit. And like, that's not what we're talking about.
No. No, I think it's more situations are going to happen to you. The universe is going to provide you with things that you don't like, people that you don't like, circumstances that are uncomfortable. And it doesn't mean that you put yourself there or that that's what you deserve out of life, but it's okay, this is the deck of cards that I have. How can I navigate this to ameliorate some of that, to make it a little better, to tolerate it a little more? And I mean, that's part of coming to therapy, right? Like, what tools do you not have to make this more manageable and more tolerable if that's your situation? So, yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard because accountability is one of those things that if you don't do it, it's not easy to start doing it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's you see that in families, right? We're like trained to point the finger, like, who did
Yeah,
it?
right.
Who caused the chaos? Who's the problem?
Mhm.
And so then if something's going on, it's always somebody else.
Right.
But like nobody's saying like what we're trying to say now, like what happened and what was my role in it
Hmm.
and how what would I have done differently or why did I stay or whatever the things may be. And I think there's a lot of family dynamics that teach us like never my fault. It's always somebody else that did it.
Yeah,
So if they wouldn't do it, I wouldn't be mad.
right.
And that doesn't help anybody look inside. That's always you're going to be looking external to solve problems that you're never going to solve.
Right. And also, with you just saying that, if that person didn't do this, I wouldn't be mad. That takes 100% of the ownership and responsibility of your feelings and your reactions to things away from the self. If that
Right.
person,
And that's power. Like I always say when a client says it, I'm like, wow, that person has so much power over you. Like
yeah,
the fact that you're like, since they did that, I wouldn't be angry.
right.
I'm like, wow, that person just can dictate your whole day then.
Yeah,
Like, they basically run your life. If one thing that they can do causes you this explosion,
yeah,
how much power does it you allow that other person to have where you're not able to go and say, all right, I don't like the way this person speaks to me, so maybe I need a boundary, or maybe I need to walk away, or
yeah.
I don't want to be around them, or I can speak up for myself. So I'm not over here like, wow, I'm in such anger because this person just pushes me and I allow it.
Right. Which, is so interesting because whenever I feel like a lot of the time when we hear that, this person does ABC and it makes me feel a certain type of way. That is 99% of the time a person that they don't respect or they don't like or they don't care for. And it's like, why do you insist on being so powerless to someone who you don't even want to be anything like?
Yeah.
It's amazing. You want to give, not that you want to give power to anyone in your life, but you want to have people who you care about have positive influence, have even sometimes an influence of not negativity, but you know, just guidance
Right.
and even things that sometimes are hard to hear, tough love. You want people that you respect and look up to, not people on the periphery that
Right.
you're just like, oh, that was my abuser. That
Right.
was the person who bullied me in middle school.
Right.
And it's amazing. So when you really step back and think about it, what role do you have in that? Why are you allowing yourself to be trampled by people who you see as lesser than?
Right. And again, they have all the power, which is sad when you say that. That's why I always say you give them power because it's
Hmm.
you think you're the powerful one in the situation. Like, I'm not the one that's doing anything if they wouldn't do it, but you're giving away, like, here,
Yeah,
you can control all of my emotions all
right,
day long. And now I'm putting all my emotional energy that I do not have unlimited energy,
right.
but I'm giving it and I'm consumed by all these people that don't really care about me, which is sad.
Yeah, but we see that so much in relationships nowadays, and I think relationships is where we have a lot of this discussion come out because it's like, why did you not leave sooner? Why did you wait for them to change? Why did you change your boundaries and your desires and your expectations for this person? Well, because you're giving them power to dictate whether or not you do things or take action. Well, I'm afraid of what my life is going to be if I don't have this, or what they're going to do if I say how I feel.
Right.
That's just being like, here you go, everything that happens on a day to day basis. And you and I have both been there. So, you know, I think we can speak from experience when we say, like, sometimes it is scary to want to voice your concerns or voice your fears because you're tiptoeing around this power that this person has for you. And when you finally realize that, oh, hey, I have agency, and I really needed a very dramatic, like, pick for something to show me, like, hey, I'm not powerless in this situation either. I have the capacity to make choices and feel things and channel my energy elsewhere. That's when you feel very powerful, right? You're like, oh man, I'm on top of the world here. Yeah. Yeah. No. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. Well, I think it comes down to a few things. One, do, and we could argue this, do people really change? Can they change after you voiced a concern? I think that depends on how deeply you're into it. If you're kind of noticing, for example, that your partner leaves their protein powder all over the counter and you've brought it up a couple times, and no matter what you do, they're never going to clean it up. You know, okay, well, that speaks to, do they not respect you? Do they not see it as a problem? Is that a situation where maybe that is a make or break for you, where you feel unheard, you feel unseen? Is that an end of the world kind of thing? Not necessarily. Could you have a conversation with them and say, this bothers me and I can't do this anymore because you not hearing me about this shows that you don't hear me about bigger things? Maybe that's the way the conversation can look. But if you're able to nip it in the bud and say, I'm wholly uncomfortable with conflict, but the first time it happens you point it out, that could be a situation where it's like a yellow flag. And you can fix that because that's not like a character flaw, but that comes down to, is it okay with you if a person is changing major parts of who they are deeply because of you? That was something I struggled with a lot in some of my experiences in relationships. I didn't want to say something because I didn't want to be the reason, and I would feel guilty if they were not being true to who they were. But like, if being true to who they are as a person, whether that's a friend or a partner, is just not a good person, then it doesn't matter if you have guilt or not. Ultimately, you say what you need to say. So, I don't know. For me, it is one of those things that in this generation especially, we're seeing a lot in what's coming out with social media and people speaking out about, oh, I got broken up with, whatever. I had a bad friend. Yeah, it took years for you to say something because it was so uncomfortable to think about making someone else feel bad, but you're feeling bad. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And it has to come from, I think, a place where you're able to speak up about your needs without making the other person feel like they're an aggressor all the time. That's part of healthy communication. It's okay to identify something in yourself like, hey, I feel like I'm struggling with XYZ. Have you noticed that? Can you help me with that? Taking it from a place of, I have control over this and I can fix it. The way I'm fixing it is by vocalizing it to you, is by identifying it to another person or maybe just venting about it. That's a place of like, okay, well, I'm not just going to put the blame on everything and be this perpetual martyr, because at that point, when you get into that complex of everything is against me, the world is being set up to constantly knock me down, your feelings are never going to get under control because you're constantly going to have this overreaction, this dramatic catharsis every single time something happens, and there's no bandwidth for processing. I have a couple of friends now that they're like, well, I've been broken up with, I've had a loss in my life, I've had ABC, and my gosh, like, what else is the world going to hand me? And my advice is to them, okay, look at the lesson underneath. And after you've felt the big feelings that you don't have control over right now, take a big step back and say, what about my life is enabling some of these things to happen? Whatever it is, be okay being vulnerable with yourself and saying, like, hey, I kind of laid a really shitty foundation for these friendships and for this relationship. And why is that? Oh, because I'm not happy with myself, because I feel like I'm filling voids with empty things. Be okay with that. And if you can tolerate a little bit of discomfort with yourself, like, where do I need to grow? Okay, maybe you don't need relationships and activities and things right now. Maybe you have to kind of scar over that wound that you have and then move on. The root of the issue is so fresh and wounded that no matter what you put on top of it to feel better, it's just gonna weasel its way out. And like, a pity party feels good. We all like it. And I mean, it's funny too. I think therapists tend to feel like, okay, how much are we dehumanizing this by teaching skills? It's okay. And I've told some of my clients too, like, go ahead and cry. Like, that's part of the reason why you're here. Yeah, you might be like paying for your crying time, but like, are you going to do it at home with your kids? No. Are you going to do it at work? Probably not. So it's okay. Let it out. And don't freaking apologize if you cry in a therapy session. Oh, I'm so sorry. Why are you sorry? Why are you sorry? For what? Yeah. This is the safest place for you to cry.
Right. Like, I want these tears. Like, bring them. I'm here for you.
And I've taught this to kids in groups. Give yourself 10 minutes to be really upset. Set a timer. Like, that works. And when your timer goes off, you're like, okay, let me bury that shit because I don't have time for it now. I'm so busy. I'm too busy to be upset about this all day. Okay, so you put it in your planner. Like, I literally, it sounds stupid, but have your 10 minutes to crash out. And you've given yourself permission to sit with your feelings also. Like, you're teaching a threshold for, like, this really sucks. But I
Right.
also
I would say it's exposing it. Like, it's exposure. Like, how can I start feeling it so it doesn't feel as big, but also not let it ruin my whole day?
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that's a valuable skill too. But that it does a lot of things when you allow people, like, you can radically accept the fact that you have feelings that are out of control. You can
Right.
accept the fact that you are not 100% sure, like, why things are happening to you. but your feelings are valid. It's just that your consequential behaviors are not valid. So
Right.
you can be really upset with somebody, but letting them walk all over you is not okay. You
Right.
can be really mad at somebody, but being rude and disrespectful is also not okay.
Right.
So, understanding like, hey, I have these really intense, horrible feelings that I feel guilty about, but I'm not going to communicate them because I don't want to make somebody else feel bad. Okay, how lonely is that?
Right.
How lonely is that? So now what? The other person, and then you're resentful because the other person who made you feel some type of way is out living their best life. And they
Right.
have no idea that you've just been so transgressed.
Hmm.
And okay, well, you see, they don't have any guilt. And it's like, well, did you talk to them about what happened?
Right.
Well,
Well, I
no.
think that's why when we're talking about this topic of looking inside of yourself, this is what I believe why most couples fail.
Yeah.
Because it's like couples come in and it's like pointing fingers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, we're only going to do this if you can each point to yourself and be like, what do you each suck at
Yeah.
in the relationship? And if one person's like, I'm good. If she doesn't have anxiety, we wouldn't be here. And it's like, oh God. And
Yeah.
I had this couple the other day and I thought it was cute because they weren't vulnerable to each other. And as soon as we started processing stuff and I could get them to open up, and it's like key to this. I looked at the girl and he kept saying she was controlling.
Yeah.
And she kept being like kind of defending herself. And I'm like, do you think you're controlling? And she went, sometimes. And I went, why do you think you're controlling? And she's like, well, in the past, I've gotten done dirty.
Mm-hmm.
So I get highly anxious when my man goes out and when he's out to his boys at the club till 2 a.m.
Mm.
I'm sitting at home freaking the fuck out. I'm like, valid. And he
Right.
goes, oh, babe, I didn't know you were that anxious. Like, I just think you don't trust me. And she was like, well, it's not that I don't trust you. I don't trust.
Yeah. Hey, wow.
Right. And I was like, love that. And he was like, okay. And then it opened him up a little because it wasn't like putting blame on him, like he did
Yeah.
something wrong. Right. So it was this cute interaction. And I went, do you think you can work on your controlling issues? And she was like, well, I don't know how, which I'm like, well, that's what I'm here for.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why you're here. And I was like, control is usually you're anxious. So, and I looked at the husband, I'm like, are you willing to help her with her anxiety?
Yeah.
And he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't know she was anxious. She's just coming off as a controlling bitch. And I'm
Wow.
like, valid.
Right.
Right? Like, I'm like, I can totally see this dance going on where she's like, what are you doing? You shouldn't be out. Because she's being like, she's like, I'm nagging. And I'm like,
Right.
yeah. And he's like,
Yeah.
well, I didn't know why she was nagging. I just thought she's like, oh, she doesn't want me to have fun with my friends. She doesn't want me to have fun with my boys.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, that's not it at all. So
Right.
I'm like, now we're getting somewhere. And as soon as he said, yes, what do you need? Because I taught him that language, she was like, I don't know. How do we build trust? And then I started teaching. Okay, well, let's start baby steps. If he does go out, do you want him home at a certain time?
Yeah.
Like start from basics. And she's like, well, preferably not. I don't care if he goes out, but I would like him home like midnight. Can you do that? And he's like, if that's going to help her. I'm like, wow, now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's like, it took her like both of them, right? Because he was like, internally, I'm just being like, fuck it, I'm going to do what I want because she's being a bitch. And he goes, well, that's not healthy. So I'm
Right.
like, if you can look at your little attitude when she tells you to do something where you're kind of like, fuck her, I'm going to do what I want.
Right.
Why do you do that? And he was like, because I feel controlled.
Yeah.
But I can work on my attitude and try to listen to her if she would explain more.
Sure.
And then as soon as she started explaining, this is why, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh. See, now they're both working on. And when they left, I said, awesome. What are you working on?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What are you working on? Are you
Yeah.
guys good with that? And they left, and they were already like, oh, we have a plan.
Yeah.
And I'm
Right.
like, guys, it's not going to go perfect. You guys are still going to fight about this, I promise.
Yeah.
But like, it's a trial and error now. Let's see if it helps a little bit. And then if not, we'll be like, well, that didn't work. What's next?
But see, this is such a great example because can you imagine if they had just not been willing to look inside and been like, but him, but her, but he does this,
Right.
but she does that, they would probably not be together.
And that's why they would came on because I saw them in history. So like we trusted you. We just don't really. It was cute because they were like, we don't know what the fuck's going on, which most couples don't. We're like, I'm just mad at you and you're mad at me, and
Yeah.
I'm thinking this and we don't know how to figure it out. And I'm like, well, I'm very good at helping people figure this out.
Yeah.
And they knew I was. So I was like, okay. But
Yeah.
100% when I look at you, I'm like, you each have to look at your own part
Right.
because if you're gonna just say he's the problem because he's going out,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a problem my man goes out.
Right.
So if you're just gonna say he has to stay home so I don't get anxious,
Right.
and I told her, and that's what I taught them. I'm like, what's the compromise? 'Cause it's not fair if he stays home to fix your anxiety,
Right.
but it's also not fair that you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna hang out with my friends and do what I want when you have
Yeah.
a girl at home that's anxious and trying to heal some of her trauma in her past.
Yeah. Right.
So if you both can work on that,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship can work. But it's interesting because if they would have just been like, well, you're controlling, well, you just want to go out with your boys, that's their dance.
Right.
And now we're going to be stuck in that, and they're going to do that for the next 20 years and hate
Yeah.
each other, or they're going to be divorced, because that's the point, right? The point of everything we're talking about is you cannot heal yourself or heal any relationship unless you look inside.
Right. Yeah.
And
What
that's
are,
the accountability part.
yeah. I think that's the bottom line. We all have tendencies, we all have patterns, we all have wounds of some kind. And if you're just willing to slap on a band-aid and move on with your life and consistently get hurt and not be willing to look inward and be like, this stings even worse than last time. But
Right.
this is the same situation. What am I doing here? And
Mm-hmm.
it's not, again, it's not taking fault, but
Right.
it's realizing like, hey, there's a pattern here. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
I am the common denominator. Sometimes I
Right.
perpetuate these things. I look for the same friendships. I tolerate the same behaviors. I don't stick up for myself. I don't vocalize my feelings. I don't sit well with my feelings. Why?
Right. Right.
And that's why we look at history. We look at family systems. We look at like, when was the first time you felt this way?
Right.
When was the first time that this same level of anger happened? Oh, in a similar situation? Let's unpack that.
Right.
You
Right.
know, there's a reason for that because this isn't like a one-off most of the time. Oh,
Right.
this is the first relationship ever I've had a problem like this. Usually, no. Usually, when you dig a little deeper, it's like, well, does this remind you of something? Oh,
Right.
yeah. Okay, even recognition is accountability. Even
Right.
awareness is accountability. It's not, oh, there's something deep in me I have to heal all the time. Not necessarily. But what have you put blinders on? Okay, in every relationship, I get 5 years deep before I see the problem. No,
Right.
you saw it, girl.
Right.
You saw it and you glazed over it because you were hoping something was going to be different. Okay, now next time what are the things that we're going to open our eyes for and
Right.
see and describe? And that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough.
Yeah, for sure. And like it makes me think about anybody I usually tell that example I told you.
Hmm.
This is another way to like look inside too. I think it's a good example. Like what if this girl was like, I know I'm controlling,
Hmm.
but I don't care. I want you staying home all the time. I never want you going out. Then like that would be his job to look at,
Yeah.
right? So it's kind of like, okay, she doesn't want to fix that.
Yeah.
So then he might say something like, "Well, see, Alessia, she's the problem.
Right.
She's telling me she's controlling, and like, what am I supposed to do about it?" And then my answer would be like, "Well, then do you want to be in this relationship?
Right.
Then why are you staying?" Because
Yeah.
again, that's now it's back to you keep blaming her,
Hmm.
but you're the one staying and bitching about her being controlling.
Right.
So it's either ask that person, "Are you going to work on X?"
Yeah.
If they bluntly are like, "Nope,"
Hmm.
then you have to be like, what am I going to do from here? And I feel like that's the part where people get stuck on because they're like, I did everything. I communicated. I asked them for my needs. I did my part and it still didn't work out in my favor. Well, then what's next?
Yeah. There's action. Action is the
Right.
scary part.
Right. And I think that's where people get stuck in the internal stuff. Like, I'm doing all the work on myself, but it's still not working how I want it to work.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because I have one client now that's just like this. And she's telling me, well, I'm doing all of this. I'm pouring into myself. I'm working. I'm seeing you. And I just like still get stuck in these things. And I'm like, these are the options. Like, let's look at your options of what you can do now. And it's what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Take action. You can change things. And that's, I think, with this topic where some people listening might be like, oh, but, is it about what's on me? No, this is about empowering you to say, like, literally balls in your court. You
Mhm.
have all the power and control now. It's just are you ready to take it? Are you ready to do something with it? And how do we get you there?
Right.
You know?
And usually that's the step that's hard because you have to feel all of the emotions we don't want to usually feel.
Right. Yeah, like fear, bravery, like bravery looks like fear sometimes
Hmm.
because it
Hmm.
is like,
Well, yeah,
okay,
because it's the unknown. Now
yes,
what?
yeah, I guess you'll find out. Right. What if things are better though? And that's option. It's not really option three, but that's the layer of option two, right? Yeah, of course novelty is familiar, novelty is comfortable, it's sufficient. The uncertain is a little scary, but what if it's better? Taking action, taking agency is empowering. It is important and it is empowering to be accountable to yourself, be willing to be introspective. That's why, we're very much on this journey of how much, what's your role in your progress in the positivity, right? Like, this is the type of power we want to give people, friends,
Mhm.
clients, and, get you where you want to be. But
Right.
look inside yourself.
If you look inside yourself, it gets a lot lighter
Yeah, right.
because you will never control other people. So I feel like if that's like you're gonna bang your head against the wall the rest of your life because if you're waiting on other people to make you happy, it's never gonna happen.
That's the takeaway here,
Yeah.
guys.
Yes. All right, squad. Until next time, if you have questions, comments, concerns, let us know.
Bye.